A very warm welcome to you all for the first session on Bridging the Gap Industry Academia Interface. I now kindly request the resource person of this session, Dr. Radhika Naik ma'am and Sri Sanjay Amonkar sir, to kindly take their seat on the dais. We have chairperson Professor Manoj Kamath sir, who will be joining shortly, and also Mangiris Salilkar sir, who will be joining shortly to us. In this session, we will explore the key challenges and opportunities in strengthening collaboration between industry and academia. One of the major concerns we will address here is the increasing disconnect between the two, often reflected in the mismatch between the skills taught in the academic institutions and the rapidly changing need of modern industries. Additionally, outdated curricula that lag behind the pace of technological advancement contribute toward widening this gap. Now, I invite Sri Rahul Gauss, Assistant Professor, to kindly introduce our esteemed speakers.
Good morning, everybody. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce the forum of discussion over here. Professor Manoj Kamath, who is the chairperson, who will be joining us shortly. And now take this opportunity to introduce the resource person of the day, Professor Dr. Radhika Naik. Professor Dr. Radhika Naik is a seasoned academic with over 40 years of experience in teaching economics and a former principal of DCT's SS Dempo College of Commerce and Economics. Currently, she serves as a consultant for the implementation of the National Education Policy under the Directorate of Higher Education, Government of Goa. Professor Naik holds multiple postgraduate degrees, a PhD in Development Economics, and an Executive MBA. She has also made significant contribution to local governance as chairperson of the Ponda Municipal Council and is a recipient of several awards, including the Best Teacher Award 2019-20. So I please welcome Professor Radhika Naik. Sir Sanjay Amonkar, Director General of GCCI, who needs no introduction now as he has been associated with us since morning. I welcome you, sir. Professor Manoj Kamath, the chairperson. Professor Manoj Kamath is a distinguished academic and alumnus of IIT and the IMS, renowned for his contribution as a scholar, author, columnist, and administrator. He holds a postdoctoral fellowship in economics analysis and a PhD from IIT Bombay in empirical finance. Currently serving as a principal of Dempo College, he is reorganized for transforming academic environments, notably at Mallikarjun College, where he led the institution to achieve a NAC score of 3.25 with an A grade. Professor Kamath has a prolific academic output with 12 authored books, 90 academic publications, and several research projects. He has guided multiple PhD candidates and is an active member of editorial boards for international journals. He also contributes regular economic policy columns to the media and is deeply engaged in education and youth empowerment initiative, having received several prestigious awards for his work. His expertise extends to teaching at prominent management institutions and advising on industrial development projects, where he has been recognized for his contribution to business and education. Passionate about classical music, reading, and football, Professor Kamath continues to influence both academic and public discourse. Please welcome Professor Manoj Kamath, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I now request Chairman of Prabodhan Education Society, Sri Sanjay Valawalkar sir, to kindly present a token of appreciation to our speakers. The just flow of session, this session will run for 60 to 70 minutes. Each resource person as well as the chairperson will be allotted 15 to 20 minutes to share their insights on the topic, requesting the speakers to kindly adhere to the timings. A warning bell will be rung at the 15 minutes mark. The audience may pose their questions at the end of session. Thank you. Now I request Shri Sanjay Amonkar sir to deliver his address.
Yeah, am I audible? Yes, very much. Thank you, respected Chairman Sir, Professor Manoj Kamath and Professor Radhika Naik. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I was not the original choice. Mr. Mangirish Salelkar, who is supposed to come here, had some exigencies, so he will be joining us shortly. Nevertheless, I can tell you something about industry, academia, what is the gap which is happening, and I'll start with my own example. I'm an engineering graduate. I graduated as a BE Mechanical in 1987, and I got selected in 3 or 4 companies. One of them was ONGC, one of them was Hindustan Lever. ONGC had given me posting that time, if I remember right, was in Assam. But my parents told me there are some people there called Ulfa terrorists, and we can't put you there because you are only son in the family. Who will look after us? Something happens to you. So they cancelled that. Hindustan Lever said, this is purely a sales job, we'll be transferring you all over India. So my father said, nothing doing, you come back, we are capable of supporting you without any problem. Don't वराचे जेवण आणि तुका breakfast बी आमी दिता, no problem. So I came back. Luckily for me, I had done very well in my 3rd year, and based on that, because 4th result had not yet come, Zuari Agrochemicals accepted me and they told me that you join us as a management trainee. I said, fair enough, I will join. Somewhere in 87, they were paying me a salary of 451 rupees, and they cut around, I think if it was 130 rupees or something for canteen expenses. Just diversion from the topic, the canteen of Zuari that time was number 1. I'll just narrate to you, this is not industry, academia fostering, but what breakfast you'll get the idea. We used to get puri, we used to get bhaji, 2 types of bhaji, we used to get omelette, different types of omelettes were there. Shira also was there. That was the breakfast. At 10 o'clock, we used to get a good sarbat, something like that. At 1 o'clock, hi-fi lunch, which is to have fish, mutton, chicken, whatever you want. And I was 47 kilos when I joined. Within 6 months, I crossed 53. So that was good for 130 rupees. It was very good, I thought. Fantastic. Now coming back to the work life, that was a bit different. See, what we were taught in engineering, I was trying to find out like where I will try to apply this integration and derivatives and differential equations. Sorry, there was nothing like that. On the side, there was nothing like that. So very second day, there was a failure in one of the reciprocating pumps. And that time our maintenance manager, one person from West Bengal, he was there. So he told me that you will go and check what is the problem. So they had opened the pump and one shaft was lying there. It was sheared in the middle. So he said, you do an analysis of why it has broken. Now that was all Greek to me because nowhere else it was taught to us. So luckily with me there were 3 other people from IITs who had joined me as a management trainee. And somehow we gave some description of that. Then he took me to another machine. He's asking me, what is this? I am looking at him. He's looking at me. He said, this is a turbine. I said, I have designed turbines, I'm telling him. So you have never seen. So I said, in my life, I have never seen a turbine. And I have designed one. So we have got tool designs. And when I go to the workshop, he's showing me CNC machines. Again, I know those machines, but I have never seen them in my life. See, what happens when you see a particular object on the book and when you see it in practice, it's a big difference. For example, if you show a child a picture of an elephant, now what the child will imagine? He will imagine that the picture is so small that the elephant also must be small. But when you see in practice, it's a big elephant. So this is the reason which I always keep on telling that do site visits. Enter a factory, see how things work. So these are important things, So these are not taught in colleges. Very more important is how to deal with people. See, when I joined this particular company, they thought that I was a threat to the people, existing people, they thought that I'm a threat. I already joined as a management trainee, I would have become an assistant engineer in a year's time, and these people were technicians. So they are not ready to depart whatever knowledge they have to you. So That you have to break that particular ice breaking is very important. How you deal with them, how you talk to them, how you respect them. So then only that knowledge sharing starts happening. So this needs to happen at a college level itself. So what Bhushan sir has said rightly, that our teachers need to be trained in the institutes first. I mean in the industry first. So if they know what is happening in the industry, then they can impart that particular knowledge to the students. So there that gap comes down drastically. Then you can always build up on them. Now second problem is when I send what Harilal Menon also sent, when I send a person for training in a college, in an industry, I've trained a lot of people. The point is, let us understand that a corporate is not like government. There are limited staff and they are overloaded. Now they cannot give time to you. You can't expect also that they give time to you. So general training is not possible. That's why I get a lot of complaints that when I put a student for training, they use them for doing errand works, like Xerox, get a Xerox, go to the bank, make some deposits. These are the basic things which are taught. The work is never taught to the student. I feel really bad for them. But these people do not have time. Some exceptions are there, like my old company. We had a training cell itself, which was headed by a competent person. So there we had there was a agenda charted out. You know what has to be done. There were weekly exams. And then the professor of the college also used to come once in 2 weeks to study one. So those type of things should happen. But that is coming down drastically day by day. So what we need to know today is what exactly is important for the student to learn when he enters the college. That is not happening. So what I feel is, instead of doing all classwork routine and studying petrol cycle, diesel cycle, it is better that to go and see in a workshop or somewhere what exactly, how does the engine looks like, how the spares of the engine, how the parts of the engine are. The person, for example, who is repairing your scooter or your car, if you send them to size service or something, just stand and see for some time, you will learn much more than what you learn in a book. Because then you can actually imagine what is happening. See, studying from a book and looking practically is different. So these are things which need to be done. Yesterday, me and my colleague Ambika, we visited Goa Agriculture College. It's newly coming up at Ella, and we were lucky to have Professor Kunkalikar who was there, and he was very good and he gave a lot of time, almost 2 hours he gave us a good presentation. Then he gave a field tour also what is happening. There also we should understand that the children actually plant trees there. He has grown paddy, he has grown nuts and ragi, he has grown there. He is growing bhaneroila, he has put bindis there. So these are the things the students themselves do, and they are earning also out of it. It is being sold. And then he has got an entomology lab where he is checking what type of diseases are there, how they can be cured. So these things are very important. So practical and theory mixed together can help to bridge the gap between society, the academia and the industry. So these are some certain things which I would like to tell you all, so that it will help you all and you are the students in future when you actually enter an industry. So I'll not take much more time. I request Dr. Radhika to take over from here. Thank you.
We'll allow our chairman to say something.
Yeah. No. Thank you, sir, for sharing your valuable insights on this topic. Your words have truly enlightened us and provided much more reflect upon. I now request Dr. Radhika Naik, ma'am, to kindly share her insights.
A very good morning to the esteemed gathering over here. At the outset, first let me thank Vidya Prabodhini for making me a part of this initiative of industry-academia linkage. I'm honored to be on the committee, and I am sure with the kind of support that Vidya Prabodhini has, the kind of goodwill that they have, the networking that Chairman Sir and Principal Bhushan Bhave do, I'm sure that this initiative, which they have already said is not restricted to their college, will spread to the colleges in Goa, and definitely it will help us to leap forward on an agenda that, as he himself said, we've been talking about for a long time, but have not really got together to get the action going. So I'm very happy to be also a part of this day-long deliberation. because this is where we will actually, brainstorm, get our ideas together, and take those steps that need to be taken in order to bridge this industry-academia linkage. I was just, before you came, Professor Kamath, who is chairing the session, I was happy to know that Sanjay had stepped in for Mangarish, and he looked at me and he said, "Oh, you have a presentation ready." So I said, yes, coming from academics, we rarely go without preparation. So, and there he was happy, he was stepping in for somebody. I said, you are prepared all the time. So he said, yes, aau let lo. And actually he spoke and he told you, how practical things are so much more important. And when you add that to the theory that I'm going to present, I'm sure that it will make a very good workable combination, and we'll be able to get things done with the help of GCCI as well, who are collaborating in this industry academia initiative. Again, let me say that this is a concept that we have been talking about for a long time. And as you can see in the credit, I have based my presentation on a concept note that was prepared by my colleague in Dempo College, Associate Professor Nikhil Varerkar, who was on a sabbatical working in industry because he felt that he had such a long teaching experience, but he had not been a part of industry. And I very readily encouraged him to take that sabbatical. The government of Goa was very supportive in accepting his proposal and allowing him to go on that sabbatical. And the kind of learning that has come from that is invaluable. And therefore, as Bhushan is saying that Vidya Prabodhini will be starting this initiative of sending their teachers to the industry, I think that's where it all begins, because it's only then that the teachers will be able to distinguish what the real size of the elephant is. As Sanjay said, it's not just that small picture, but it is actually that huge, large, big animal that we see. The turbines, the machinery that he had designed but had not seen, and it became a reality only when he became a part of the industry. He was told that he has to come in as a trainee, and we hear from industry that you teach them so many things, but we have to spend almost a year in making them unlearn what they have learnt in your institution. So these are the kind of dilemmas that everybody is faced with when we talk about bridging this industry-academia linkage. And of course, now as all of us in academics know, the national education policy is really taken up with this issue of bridging this gap between theory and practice. They want the curriculum, as the Vice Chancellor was saying, the Goa University has already taken those steps. They want the curriculum to include this very important component of practical training on site, not just practicals in the labs, in the institutions, but practical training on site so that the students would be industry prepared. How many times have we as academicians heard industry lamenting that your graduates are unemployable? I mean, this used to be one of the most hurting things that would affect me as a principal of a commerce college. When the industry people would say, what are your graduates learning? What are they able to do at the end of it? They are unemployable. We have to work with them for almost 6, 7, 8, 9 months or even a year to make them able to do what we want them to do in industry. Very often we try to include their syllabi in or include the kind of topics that they require in our syllabi. But then, as all of us know, the procedures are so long drawn, the procedures are so complicated and complex that by the time we have included this syllabus, this component in the syllabus, things have moved on and we have something new that has to be added on. And so it is an unending struggle. So really, it is time that our curriculum becomes such that it provides for this practical training to us, to our students, to make them industry ready. So, industry academia interface is what the subject is for the day, and I just thought, let me just check with the Cambridge Dictionary what it really means. You know, we use these terms always without actually realizing what they are. So when we say interface, it is defined as the place where two systems come together. And then the Vice Chancellor said these are two systems which are totally diverse. Industry is one system, academia is another system, and all our efforts today and what Vidya Prabodhini is trying to do is bring these two systems together so that they have an effect on one another, so that there is a positive exchange between one another. Often this term interface is also used as collaboration or partnership or linkages. And what do these collaborations, partnerships and linkages do, or what are they supposed to do? They are supposed to facilitate the exchange of knowledge. They are supposed to facilitate exchange of resources and expertise between two distinct spheres, thereby enriching both academia and industry. So one can understand how academia gets enriched by industry, but how would industry get enriched by academia? And we'll see as I go along in the presentation that it is a mutually beneficial relationship, and that is what we have to work towards. Both industry and academia have emerged as crucial conduits for driving innovation. We have seen elaborately Vice Chancellor explaining that driving innovation, fostering economic growth and addressing complex societal challenges. I was happy when towards the end of his speech he talked about research that is going to address why there are so many kidney infection problems or kidney disease problems, and we've read in newspapers that it's concentrated in Kankon Taluka. Why is it happening over there? Who is going to address that, or how are we going to tackle that problem? And those are the kind of issues that we can give to academia to address so that it enables societal changes, it helps us to face societal challenges. The National Education Policy 2020 also emphasizes the significance of industry-academia interface in skills development, advancing research, promoting entrepreneurship. We are also talking about everybody becoming not job seekers, but job givers. We want everyone to become entrepreneurs, but how are they going to do it? And nurture talent. And we have seen world around, the global experience has corroborated that this industry-academia linkage is in fact very, very beneficial. So just to name a few specific benefits that emerge from both industry-academic interface or collaboration, the industry allows, or linking with the industry allows talent development and skills enhancement amongst the young people or amongst the students. It also enables enhanced research and innovation. Of course, the topics that are there, as they said, there should be hackathons, there should be ideathons. All of this is going to lead to research and innovation. Then it facilitates economic growth and competitiveness. Out of all that research, we are able to develop better ways of doing things. I mean, look at the Green Revolution. If you go back to that time itself, the research that happened allowed us to become a surplus food nation from a nation which was dependent on imports on food. And thereafter, this kind of competitiveness we have developed in the most sophisticated of industries, and of course now the knowledge industry, the IT, AI, whatever else that you are talking about, in all these areas we have been able to become competitive and facilitate our economic growth to such an extent that we are talking about from being an underdeveloped and a developing nation, we are able to count ourselves amongst the developed nations, and we are able to dream about becoming a Viksit Bharat. Industry-academia interface also has a societal impact and enables sustainable development, and that is what we are all trying to work towards when we talk about 2047. The NEP 2020 has particularly emphasized industry-academia interface, and as an academician, I think I want to highlight what the national education policy wants us to do as far as this aspect is concerned. The NEP has introduced several key reforms aimed at transforming the country's education system to meet the needs of the 21st century. It emphasizes integrating practical, hands-on learning experiences into the academic curriculum, including industrial internships. So as the Vice Chancellor was saying, that 1 month internship is not enough. You need to have an entire semester, and that is what has been incorporated when you are talking about a 4-year degree course. You have 6 months which is going to be used for the purpose of internship. The question, of course, that looms in all our minds is industry ready to absorb the number of students that we have for this kind of industry internship? So there are challenges, but then these are the challenges that all of us have to get together and find ways and means of meeting them and overcoming them. The NEP emphasizes experiential learning. We have so many subjects that have been introduced wherein you have to not just learn from books, but you have to go into the field and experience what you are meant to learn. The NEP recommends integration of internships into curriculum, which Goa University, the Vice Chancellor has highlighted, has already done, is one of the first universities to do so. It provides flexibility and choice to the students. Of course, again, I'm not being blind to the fact that workload and other issues compel us to limit the choices. I mean, there are all these challenges that we are all aware about, but the policy in itself is focusing on enabling students to have a flexibility and a choice. So if a student of engineering wants to do something in music, he should be able to do that. Or if a commerce student wants to know something about genetics, he should be able to learn. And so this is the kind of choice that the NEP feels that the student must have at his disposal in order to have the kind of holistic development that all of us keep talking about. The NEP recommends quality assurance and monitoring. Of course, we are all going through all that through our data for NIRF, our attempts for NAC, or our attempts at ensuring that we meet the quality parameters, ISO certification, green certification. We try to meet the quality parameters and constantly monitor what is happening. So your academic audits that you do for the courses that you run and how they are being conducted and what is the outcome of those courses Are you achieving those outcomes which they were meant to achieve? All of this is a part of NEP, and it is has become a part of the policy so that it will be implemented across the country. NEP also recommends closer industry-academia collaboration, and that's what we are all talking about today. It facilitates skill development and employability. Now, after getting internships, after building in internships into curriculum, after making sure that there is experiential learning, after insisting that there should be add-on courses, after providing them through various platforms, where students can learn at their own speed, at home probably, online. So when all this is put together, you definitely will see that there will be skill development, and that will make the young people more employable. And the NEP also encourages innovation and entrepreneurship. Now, in all your colleges, you have your institution innovation councils, you have incubation hubs. What you're doing over there is what is more important, because the policy says you must have them, you are constituting them, but exactly what is being done in them, is it giving you the outcome that it is meant for, is what we have to ask ourselves and is what we have to ensure. That is each of our responsibility. As a principal of a commerce college, and discussing with my colleagues who were in day-to-day classroom interaction with commerce students, and then listening to the feedback from the industry and realizing that commerce students are the major chunk of students coming out of colleges in Goa. A lot of thought was spent, or we used to debate a lot on what we could do for commerce students in Goa. So, fostering industry-academia linkages, and today I'll just take a few minutes to talk about what was the outcome of all that discussion and deliberation, particularly for students of commerce in Goa. Industry internship programs could be introduced in diverse sectors such as tourism. All of these sectors are important in Goa. Tourism, aviation, logistics and supply chain, banking, finance and insurance, marketing, event management, consulting and entrepreneurship. So these are the areas that we have to focus on in order to be able to benefit our students. Now, of course, we are talking about NEP, we are talking about the policy, we are talking about larger issues, but the crux of the matter is our graduate in Goa going to benefit from all that? If we want that to happen, then we have to ensure, I'm talking about commerce, there will be other experts who will be talking or who will be looking into science or humanities. So industry internship programs are important for commerce students in some of these sectors that I have mentioned. What is also important is industry mentorship and guest lectures, and that is necessary. That is where the industry will come in. They have to mentor the students. They have to take them under their tutelage and ensure that they are coming out as the products that the industry really wants. Now, this can be done through guest lectures by industry experts to provide students with deeper insights into the emerging areas of business like fintech. Now that is the area. Valalkar Bab talked about, we are looking at IA, but then AI is becoming very important. Blockchain technology, e-commerce, analytics, and actuarial sciences. With so much of insurance going around, it is very sad to see that not many of our commerce students are able to get into the field of actuarial science. So it's a challenge and we have to rise to it. Skill development and training programs to enhance students' employability and readiness for the workforce, that all the colleges are doing with their add-on courses. Somebody was talking about, Bhushan I think was talking about Tally. Have we got Tally? Now Tally is one of the things that you can do, and I think colleges have been doing it for a long time now. But similarly, so many other skill programs that can be introduced in a commerce, in the commerce domain. Industry immersion programs. Now this is very important, where it allows the student to observe and get into the industry and see for themselves what is happening in the industry. Introduce industry-linked capstone projects and case studies. Just by way of mentioning, when I was doing my executive MBA program, the activity that we enjoyed most was capstone, because it allowed us to get into that simulated situation of an industry and how they would strategize, how they would brand their products, or which segment they would position their products in, what would be the marketing strategies. So these are the kind of simulated projects and case studies that have to get introduced into curriculum for commerce studies. And industry can play their part by facilitating data sources for the students to be able to work on these kind of simulations. Create and nurture entrepreneurship and innovation hubs in academic institutions, which is happening. Industry, academia, research collaborations, particularly you see it in the pharmaceutical industry, you see it in the IT industry. A lot of this is happening. Industry institute partnerships for curriculum development. Now this is a challenge area when we are in the university system. One way of circumventing is to go for autonomy. I think many of our colleges in Goa are slowly heading in that direction, and that will permit us to be more quick in designing our curriculum to suit the changes that we require. So for all of us in the academia, it is important for us to be able to take this challenge to be able to make our students employable, whether it is in commerce, which is a particular example that I took, or in science or humanities. There are ample opportunities. I mean, the conventional professions, doctor, engineer, chartered accountant, is all a forgotten story. I very often recount the case of one of our very, very bright students whose father is a chartered accountant practicing in Goa, and the only son. And obviously the father wanted him to carry on his chartered accountancy practice. And he put him into Dempo College with high expectations. He himself was a student of Dempo College. And so when suddenly at the end of the first year, the son started telling his father that CA is not what he wants to do. He wants to get into production of films, and VFX is what interests him more. The father was shocked. He came to us and he said, please counsel him. This is not what I put him in Dempo College for. He should become a chartered accountant. And this tussle went on till the third year. He kind of, the son was heartbroken, the father was heartbroken, and we were trying to be the mediators in trying to tell the father, there's a lot of money to be made in this area also, if that is what is worrying you. But you have to allow your son to do what he is passionate about, what he is interested in. And the sky is the limit, because there is no dearth of occupations now, you know. Influencers on social media are earning like big money, and whoever thought that that could be an occupation. Content creation, you can sit at home and do whatever you want in content creation. So the sky is the limit, as I said, and it is on all of us in academics to, you know, kind of keep pace with the time and be able to deliver to our students what is required by the industry, so that we no longer have to hear this very, very upsetting kind of declaration from the industry that your graduates are unemployable. So wishing all of us the best in our efforts in bridging this gap between industry and academia. I once again thank all of you for your patient listening, and thank you organizers for having me here. Thank you. I hope I didn't cross my time limit, because teachers, I believe, cannot stop till the bell rings. Yeah?
Thank you, ma'am, for your valuable contribution to this event. Your thoughts have added a great depth to the discussion today. Finally, I invite Professor Manoj Kamath sir to offer his remarks.
Very good afternoon to all of you. I have a very ardent task, and that too when two prominent people are on your panel, and then you have to chair it. And remember that I was not a chairman by choice. Again, it was by an accident or by a chance. The last minute, or what do you say, make-up shift, Nitin Kukalkar was supposed to do this job. And finally, when Nitin was not available, and I was supposed to be the part of the next session along with Pisulekar, though I'm missing to sit with you later. But obviously, this is a privilege to be among the brighter minds. Madam Dr. Radhika spoke very elaborately and very exhaustively, even though her slides were only two, if you have noticed. So, ma'am, you have already got into consultancy. I think you have adjusted it well, because you need to be very precise and to the point, and yet provide the enough food of thought, you know, for your clients as well. But then, and Amonkar has been a very practicing academician. Though Amonkar does not teach, or though he likes to teach, but teaching is not his full-time profession. But then I always see his orientation, his orientation towards counseling or hand-holding is always in a role of a teacher. And then often he carries all his experiences when he cites examples and offers us solutions to the problems which we raise to him. I'm very glad that Vidya Prabodhini has taken up this issue of bridging the gap between academia and the industry. But understand, however we may try, there is always going to be a gap. What we can always do is try to come up to the expectations of the industry. Now, when I talk about the industry, I talk about practice or vocationalizing something or commercializing something. And when they are into commercialization or when they are into motive of making profits, obviously all the new ideas which are churned out and the new developments, new innovations which are taking place, it is obvious that they are the first runners. So you are the first one to experiment it, because you need to be cost effective at the same time efficient in order to achieve your business objectives. We come under service side, and then very often with aided colleges and with the aided structures, government pumping in a lot of money, funding is always a challenge. So however we may try, we may not be able to bring in all the innovations and then produce graduates to your expectations. But then when we talk about expectations of the industry, we very often forget one important element. And what is it? That is the aspirations of the graduate as well. So there are, instead of talking about bridging the gap between industry and academia, I always would like to add the third angle. How also do we bridge the gap between aspirations of the graduates, aspirations of the students, their own parents, the expectations of the industry, and of course the demand and the supply gap. Demand and supply gap will always remain. But remember, the demand and supply gap is, it may look like there is a big gap, but it may not be if you really look into the microeconomics of it. Let me give you some examples. Now we have a wonderful, industry that is doing very well in Goa is the pharma industry. And then pharma industry, we have seen they are often complaining, and normally they complain saying that I don't get employable people who can be infused in our industry every year on year. Obviously, understanding that there is a gap, number of pharmaceutical colleges have come in the private in the private and the self-financing sector. The Pharmaceutical Council has already brought in an embargo, and by saying that you cannot admit more than 100 students in a batch. Probably now they are thinking of revising it. But then when the Goan pharma industry is saying that I require on an year on year, almost 500 to 600 people to be employed, and my Goa state is unable to produce say 200 to 300 with my maximum capacity being utilized, still there is a gap for almost 200, for which then they have to hunt around in neighboring states. But then what happens to the students who study geology or say geography or say biology or physics? There are no enough jobs. So when we make a statement that there are no job available for a BSc graduate, there is a job opportunity available in the pharmaceutical sector, in the analytical chemistry sector, in the pharmaceutical chemistry sector, where we are unable to produce. This means that we have been only talking in generic terms, in general terms, rather understanding the microeconomics of it. Let us go further when we talk about commerce, business, and specifically with reference to Goan industry. Which are the industries which have done well traditionally in Goa has been the mining industry. And for years, donkey's years, we did not have a full-time program in mining, except for when GEC came up with a program in mining engineering. Little did we think that mining requires a wonderful treatment and a special treatment also in terms of commerce and management. So there was also a need for management professionals and commerce professionals, specifically accountants, not doing general accounting, but accounting with relation to royalty. We haven't been able to produce any kind of a program, any kind of a course, neither been able to introduce a single chapter on royalty accounting, which has been the main for which there is a major requirement, there was a major requirement in the mining sector. We produce geologists, we produce mining engineers of late, and then we had to close down the course when mining closed down. But apart from iron ore mining, there are many other mining areas where there is enough of avenues for commerce and management and accounting and taxation students to get in, for which we never explored. Even the law education or legal education for that matter, we still require people to draft our mining leases, and for 90% of times, now all these mining leases have been drafted not by Goan lawyers, except for handful of them, not more than 3 to 4, and the entire business being concentrated only with these 3 to 4 people. So what I'm trying to say at one end, when we say that there is no employment opportunity in the industry for lawyers, there has been a sizable gap here. So what needs to be done probably for all of us to now, along with the industry, to identify the blind spots, to identify which are the specific areas which have never been paid attention to. Look into what is the present state of Goan industry. The mining industry is now coming up, and then it is expected in 3 to 4 years we might reach at least 50% of the estimated levels. So we will require number of people who are skilled in this various ways. For example, not only in say legal drafting, we would require people who would do royalty accounting, but most importantly there are some skills or trades which we lose by now. What are those? Like that of barge operators, like that of the crew on your barges, or people to do sampling, for example, because all these trades are lost with the barge industry almost closing down and being more vulnerable. We also require people to work for this inland shipping, for to run this small MSMEs which are running these barges, etc. Now, leaving aside mining, now what is the sector on which we are currently thriving upon? We are currently thriving on tourism, and then tourism is the only sector. Tell me, other than the catering college or 2 catering colleges we have at Raya and other than Porvorim, are we able to cater to the tourism sector as well? We brought in a course called Masters of Travel and Tourism, but looking at the kind of interest of the students in it, I don't feel that such kind of courses would sustain, because finally if there are no students how do you run such kind of a course, and that too for how long? So question is whether our students do some kind of a research before they end up into a program like that of BCom program. So we have around 3,000 to 4,000 students enrolling for BCom, and many students join BCom not by choice, but only because they have not thought of any other avenue. Not more than, I was just looking at some baseline data, not more than 10% of the 3,000 to 4,000 students enrolling in the BCom program aspire to be chartered accountants. And the passing percentage is 10%. So if not more than 300 people aspire to be chartered accountants, not more than 100 people enroll for chartered accountancy, this is the data of IQAC, and not more than 10% or 5 to 7% student pass every year. So other than chartered accountancy and cost accountancy and the company secretaryship, we have not told them, or probably they have not explored, or we have not understood what are the other, professional avenues where students can get into. What does this mean? That out of 3,000 students who are currently there in BCom, roughly around 3,000, 3,500, around say 100 students have aspired to be chartered accountants. Not more than 7 to 8 students every year would pass, but over a period of year. Remaining students are clueless about what they want to do. We have around 400 to 500 seat vacancy for masters, where there are no teaching jobs. And then our masters in commerce program is exclusively thinking about making teachers. Why I'm saying exclusively thinking? Because the kind of narration what we do, the kind of course delivery what is happening, the kind of course structure which is there is only preparing students to become teachers and nothing else. And they are not ready to be working for the industry. Now if my masters of commerce students have to really work for the industry, whether we have tuned our syllabus to make them industry ready. Let me give you some examples. Like look at our first year students who join BCom. First year, second year students. Suppose the specialization is accountancy. What is that what we are teaching them? Container accounting, for example. For TY BCom, we are teaching them balance sheet of corporates, balance sheet of electricity companies, balance sheet of say hotels. Now, believe me, not a graduate or not a single graduate who would have a BCom degree in the hand, and suppose he joins a 5-star hotel, will the company tell him to prepare a balance sheet? Or accounting for amalgamations, accounting for buyback. Remember, accounting for amalgamations are not ordinary events. Amalgamation, absorption, mergers, etc. are off-track events. So not more than 3% of the total corporates get into such kind of an event. Now, if not more than 3% of the total corporates, registered corporates, almost close to almost 70,000 corporates in India, which are capable of merging themselves, etc., go in for such kind of events, what are we preparing our students for? Now, they study, they pass, and they know corporate accounts. They have answered one full question of 20 marks on mergers, one on amalgamations, etc., which they will never do. I asked all my chartered accountants here at ICAI whether they have ever done any accounting for a merger. They said, what kind of merger? We are not supposed to do that. There are specialized consultancy firms, and out of those 4 big consultancy firms, not more than 2 consultancy firms out of the top 4 get into such kind of business, or of doing accounting or doing reporting for mergers, amalgamations, for buyback, etc. So at one end, we claim to teach our students the best, meaning our syllabus is totally updated. Updated in a sense that in TY BCom accounting, we have accounting for corporates, we have hotel accounting, we have container accounting, we have voyage accounting, we have investment accounting, rather than teaching the basics. And this BCom student, when he passes out and you ask them, do you have some hands-on on tally? He does not have hands-on on tally. So meaning he does not do basic bookkeeping, and then he has already written say 2 answers or 4 answers, or solved some problems on all these things which not even top auditing firms or accounting firms ever do. So this is the state of accounting. We are still, it is such a shame sometimes as a commerce teacher or a commerce student, myself running a commerce college, that we are still in that same mentality of teaching students tally, where tally need not be taught. Because tally is just like your Excel, tally is just like your MS Word, you don't require to teach it. But then question is, the minute you say that, okay, I will have an faculty development program for my own in-house teachers, they say, no, sir, we are specializing in, say, management. I am a marketing teacher, so therefore I don't need to learn tally. Now see, it is such a thing that we as commerce teachers, we have specialized ourselves, and then we have kept ourselves in watertight compartments, saying that I am a teacher of retailing, or I am a teacher of branding, or I am a teacher of hotel management. Though basically our qualifications, baseline qualifications is MCom, BCom, etc. We call ourselves commerce teachers, and then we say that tally is not my cup of tea because I haven't taught accounting in my life. Accounting need not be taught. Why am I saying accounting and tally need not be taught? Because all the accountants who are practicing today, not more than 50% accountants are actually chartered accountants, or they have studied BCom. So we have seen accountants who have done BSc and also doing accounting. And all those people who are currently using tally, the world, forget the world, 60% of Indian corporates today have moved away from tally. They have gone to a new thing. Soho Books is the new trend. And then Soho Books is developed in India. And we have been exporting Soho Books, this particular software, to the world. 190 countries out of 194 to 196 estimated countries in the world is using Soho Books, and we are still talking about tally. So when we talk about modernization of curriculum or updation of curriculum, and when we proudly say tally with GST, right, or tally component is there for my MCom and BCom students, we are talking about something which is past 20 or 25 years, not understanding that such kind of softwares or such kind of techniques are far gone. What is the other industry which currently thrives? The other industry which we are not thinking, very seriously from the GCCI point of view, or maybe from the education point of view, is retailing. The only industry currently, formal sector in Goa, on which our economy is thriving, other than tourism. And in tourism, it's only beach tourism. And other than mining to some extent is the retail sector. Now, when you say, you will tell me that there are only 2 to 3 malls, and how do you say that retail sector? When I'm talking about retail sector, I'm talking about retailing as such. I'm talking about specialized stores or franchise businesses as such. And these businesses have a considerable share in your GDP. But we never talked about such kind of a sector. So maybe when we are reframing our syllabi, or when we are talking about new programs, we will probably require a BBA or a BCom program in skill specific sectors, and specifically for Goa in a sector like that of retailing. Now, traditionally we have learned that Goa is a mining based or a tourism based thing, etc. But in tourism, understand the job opportunities are not in middle segment or the top segment. In tourism, the job opportunities are the lower levels. So you require people to work on the shack, you require people to manage hotels, you require people to do housekeeping, you require people to do all these other odd jobs for which our Goan students are not ready. So your Masters of Travel Tourism or your MBA Travel Tourism will do a little in helping the economy or making them really employable graduates in the state. Our emphasis or overemphasis on subjects like that of IT, again is going to boomerang on us because we don't have enough opportunities created in the state. So which are the other industries in which we can create some kind of an opportunities other than tourism? Is ecotourism, where we have no specific skill sector program training students to manage the small ecotourism businesses. There is no need of teaching something extra or something which is hi-fi, but we need to get into something which is basically required. Pharma, the Goa's pharma sector has been the net grosser for the state. And if you look at the total, state composition in the export index, it's Goa's pharmaceutical industry as such is contributing higher to the tune of 72% to the total pharma exports from the country. But we have good number of pharmaceutical chemistry courses. We have not created any BCom or an BBA program which specializes in export management, specifically with terms of pharma export management, because here the total conditions are different. Here we talk about quality standards. Here we talk about palletization, even in the pharma businesses. Here we have never concentrated on export documentation and export logistics. Logistics and warehousing is another industry which will come in top 3 in next 5 years in the state of Goa. We cannot think of manufacturing. We have no capability to lead the IT sector. And even we try to do our best, our startup and incubation and innovation is also not going to do well, because we don't have an ecosystem for creation of startups. And if you look at the total startup businesses in the country, not more than 95% or not less than 95% are successes. So when you talk about big numbers of startups and give a lot of importance to startups, understand not more than 2 to 3% will actually survive at the end of 5 years. And 90% of your total startups are going to die within the first year. Overemphasis on such kind of things like the startups, innovations, unless, remember, even the innovation college, innovation councils which are there, other than the science or a technical college, we are unable to make innovations. Because we will never come up with a product innovation. Maximum we can talk about a process innovation. And process innovation without a skill sector specialization cannot offer you any results. So therefore, if you look at the total patents, total copyrights, total trademarks which are registered in the process sector are far less as compared to what is happening in the product. So engineering colleges or IT colleges can come up with a new product or a new app, but the life of such, the shelf life of such products or such, softwares or such apps which are developed are limited, because it is not only one person or one particular college which is coming up with these apps, but throughout the world, everyone is working on things simultaneously. So we need to talk about and think about programs and courses which are very, very relevant to the industry. Another industry which has much relevance to Goan economy is your MSME sector. And we haven't, tried to formulate any kind of a program which specifically caters to MSME management. Now, management of MSME is now, suppose if I am an MSME or if I need to recruit people for managing my small unit, whether it's a micro unit, tiny unit or a cottage unit. Remember, when I say micro unit, it is not, I'm not talking about making pickles and papad, because the definitions of micro and cottage is revised to such an extent that even a business of say 100 crore will still come under the MSME definition. So I'm talking about catering to a business which has a turnover of up till 100 to 500 crores, still coming under the definition of MSME. So this sector, when it has some requirements of graduates, they don't require graduates which are specialized in financial accounting, taxation, the kind of specializations which we are offering, but simple things like that of MSME licensing, MSME reporting, MSME quality standards, say for example 5S and how it benefits. So these are the things which are required. So on one hand, when we are talking about specializations and micro specializations and new programs and innovative programs, some way we have to think about what is required at the grassroots level. So my call to all of you, to the principals, to the teachers, to the heads of the department, etc., think about those programs which will be relevant to industry and immediately to our Goan industry. I mean, we need not think out of the box. We don't have to do something very, very exclusive. Now, big data analysis or say blockchain, etc., will work really well if I am in such kind of an ecosystem like that of Bangalore, and I cannot replicate an ecosystem. Remember, I can always copy syllabus. I can cut and paste. I can get some faculty on board. I can also teach. I may be successful in 1 or 2 years. But then in the long run, if I require those kind of students to be trained and give them some avenues for the students, I will not be able to run. Therefore, a blockchain. Therefore, any other courses like this. Remember that when the world is moving, we require people to analyze. And when we are talking about courses like that of business analytics or fin analytics, HR analytics, these are all fancy words and they really work. They really produce high, quality jobs. But for my student to do business analytics, not necessarily he has to do business analytics course with those kind of softwares which are available. Now tell me, which commerce student, the kind of caliber, you know the caliber and the level of students we get for commerce. When I offer a course like that of business analytics, the basic requirement in the first year is training in R, programming in R. Now, when the basic requirement for programming in R is high level mathematics, or at least science level mathematics as your base. Without that, I cannot teach you R. And without R, there cannot be data analytics or business analytics. So instead of concentrating on such areas, if I am able to create or curate a program where I can only teach students how to do analysis with the help of Excel, I think it is still a good paid job. Because if you look at the trend, a good Excel analyst, I'm not just talking about creating rows, columns and making those brackets. Good Excel analysts are paid not less than ₹1 lakh and they are still in demand. So on one hand, we have a chunk of thousands of people waiting for jobs, and on the other hand, we have a 10th standard student who has spent 1 year only learning Excel and getting a lakh rupees per month. And that is the kind of a model which TCS is using. Instead of recruiting engineers as their IT programmers, now they are thinking about school dropouts, 8th standard and 9th standard failed students. They are talking about widows. They are talking about householders. They are talking about housewives, right? And then training them only for 6 months and 8 months, only in one specific program to their requirement, and they have been able to deliver better programs and better applications instead of recruiting a person with 4 years or 5 years of engineering, MTech, BTech, training them for 1 or 2 years. So when I'm talking about exports, specifically we have to talk in Goa, a program like that of say export documentation and procedures. Somebody who can do export documentation sitting at one place. Somebody who can manage a letter of credits and do the entire transactions of LOCs at one place. You need not be a graduate for it. So when we are talking about industry relevance, it is not the jargon. It is not what will sell, but you understanding that what is exactly the requirement. I run a commerce college, and I often tell my teachers, which they don't like, what is a commerce college if you don't talk about analyzing a budget? Now, the budget is the biggest, celebration for a commerce institution. And if you don't analyze the budget, if your students don't analyze the budget, if the students do not understand how to make meaning of a budget, we are not really teaching them. If you are a law college, and if you don't talk about the new legislations which are coming and how it is going to impact your lives, you are not teaching them law. So remember, when we are talking about developments or contemporary developments, there is a need for all of us to come up with a syllabus, okay, or a particular program where there are 4 chapters, you define 3 chapters and you leave the 4th chapter open. And that is the way how IITs and IIMs are doing today. The 4th unit in your entire syllabus is open, and that every teacher concerned is given the freedom to develop that syllabus for the 4th year, which will be relevant only for 1 semester. Meaning whatever are the modern things, say for example HR, you are teaching them introduction to human resources management. You teach them what is recruitment, chapter number 1, selection maybe say chapter number 2, HR training and revision appraisals chapter number 3. Chapter number 4 is open for telling the students what are the new techniques which are used for HR appraisals. Meaning you design the syllabus, and the life of such syllabus for the 4th chapter, which is entirely open, is only for 6 months so that you have a chance to revise. Ma'am really spoke about very, very interesting thing. What are the new careers today? What are the new career avenues today? Is content creation, content design. In case you cannot create content and all of us are not so creative in creating content, we can help in content design. Meaning a student who can't think creatively but has artistic skills can be put in content design section. So creation of content is one thing which only 10% of the students probably would do, but content presentation is something which 80% of the students could do, because it is only a technical skill which needs to be imparted. You don't require something which is inborn and innate. Podcasting, broadcasting, writing blogs must be essential part of the syllabus. And everybody can do that. Meaning everybody can learn to do that, and this social influencing. So instead of teaching them marketing or branding, what is more important is what are the tools which are used for analysis in digital marketing. What do you understand? We all use Google, but none of us have used advanced Google search. If someone has used, it could be within those 5 to 10% who have used advanced Google search, which is a free software. And not even 1% in this audience might have used Google Analytics to see how Google works and how Google, and it does not require technical knowledge. You don't need to be an engineer to understand what is Google Analytics. Just type and then you will get an answer. AI helps you to create content. I do not know whether AI will replace jobs or not, but I am very certain to say they understood the message before I read the message. AI can create content. I do not know whether AI will replace jobs or not, but I am very certain to say that the person who can use effectively AI, and AI does not only mean generative AI, that GPT what you are using, Chat GPT, remember, is one software, it is not a product. It is just one among them. So Chat GPT is not AI. Chat GPT is the smallest utilization of AI. So if generative programs can be used to create content, I'm certain that person who is able to use AI to the best can replace jobs. AI for certain is not going to replace jobs. But a person knowing how to use AI will be best able to replace all of us. Current research by KPMG shows that 53% of our total graduates, including engineering, are unemployable. 53. And if I only concentrate about BCom and BA and BSc graduates in the state or in the country, that this numbers could be as high as 80%. On the contrary, 91% of the total corporates who have participated in that particular survey of Dexter, they say we have to compulsorily train people even in spite of that new recruit is from IITs or IIMs. And if that 91% feel that we have to recruit, then the question of that bridging of gap will never arise, because we will never be able to bridge the gap. Nonetheless, probably all educational institutions, and mostly the onus is on state funded educational institutions like that of mine and yours, to understand which are the areas which we can pluck, because we cannot do industry sponsored research. Now which industry, you go to GCCI and tell them that I want to do some research in HR, and then please fund me, they'll say sorry. Meaning, where is the question of industry funding for commerce colleges or for arts colleges? There is little scope for me to collaborate with the industry. But obviously, they can help us, they can help educational institutions in identifying where the demand-supply gap lies. Like I told you about that pharmaceutical thing. I told you about that logistics part. Now, gap lies there. And if the new logistics policy is the new, brainwave for Goa, for Goa's industry, and if we are not thinking about creating personnel or graduates in logistics and warehousing, then probably we will also miss that bus 5 years later. So this is the kind of an attempt which we'll have to make. More importantly, when I said that no, there cannot be a commerce college which understands and evaluates budgets, there also cannot be a commerce college which does not engage itself in a commercial activity, or rather induces students to get into commercial activity. I'm talking about this new innovation, new ventures. I'm not even talking about startups. So if we are able, let me ask you a question. What is the percentage of the students, suppose you have 300 students enrolling for BCom or 200 students enrolling for BCom, there is a greater number of the students who are working part-time and still studying. And these numbers have risen, ma'am, over the years. In last 5 years, if you see, there are more number of students who are working at the same time studying. And this was not the case when we were studying, meaning people from my age were studying. We were all into education and only doing that. This number is as much as 10 to 15% in every college. I conducted a small survey in my college where there are 1,800 students and I could only reach 800 students. Ma'am, the numbers were shocking. 87 students told me that they are working. 87, which is just out of 800. So out of 1,800, I expect at least 100 students who are working. Just think of one thing. Are we able to come up with a special program or a special BCom program which can only accommodate these students who are working part-time, so that whatever they are doing, whatever work they are doing for their living during their part-time can also be credited, so that they have less workload over here, and that can be credited towards a degree, so that we can further divert these part-timers to work in a special sector or a special industry or a special skill in which they are specializing. Suppose I am offering a BCom in retail and it is specifically meant for students working part-time, meaning direct those people who are working somewhere to work in a pharmacy, to work in a clinic, to work in a retail store, so that whatever they learn there can also be brought to the college, and whatever is learned in the college can also be extended into the place where they work. So the new age industry, academia bridging would require such innovative things, where we understand what is happening at the grassroots level rather than trying to copy a US model. Understand, India can create its own model. Goa can create its own model. And therefore, while creating new programs or for creating new syllabi, etc., we don't have to look what is happening at Bangalore. We don't have to look what is happening in Mumbai, because that particular sector or that particular ecosystem has come to a level after all this. Only the difference is we are taking more time to adjust. So our agility, our adaptability is much less as compared to others. So I'm happy that this college has taken this initiative. At least there is a beginning of something new and churning new ideas. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Your active engagement has made this session truly enriching. On behalf of Vidya Prabodhini College of Commerce, Education, Computer and Management, I extend our heartfelt gratitude to Professor Manoj Kamath, Shri Sanjay Amonkar and Dr. Radhika Naik for leading such an engaging and insightful session. Your profound understanding of both industry and academia and your valuable perspective on bridging this gap have greatly enriched our knowledge. We sincerely appreciate you taking the time to share your expertise with us. Your words will undoubtedly inspire and guide us in building stronger connection between academic institutions and the professional world.